Hello and welcome to TVB News. After years of financial losses at the West Kowloon Cultural District, the hub's board chairman, Henry Tang, said they have decided not to ask for more government funding. Aiming to become financially self-sufficient, Tang said the cultural district has seen a 50% reduction in operating deficits over the past 2 years. In that way, the art hub won't compete with other social needs for public resources, Tang said. A proposal has been submitted to the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau on the short, mid and long-term plans to achieve that. Admitting that the district's financial situation is not ideal, Henry Tang said it aims to optimize current financing models. More details will only be unveiled after the government approves their proposals. In 2008, the government earmarked $21.6 billion in funding for the operational and construction needs for the cultural district. In the last financial year, the district saw a loss of more than $1.5 billion. The government's fund is expected to be used up in March 2025. A World Trade Organization dispute settlement panel found China had acted inconsistently with its WTO obligations by imposing additional duties on certain U.S. imports. This in response to American tariffs on steel and aluminum. The panel recommended China bring its WTO inconsistent measures into conformity. In Beijing, the Commerce Ministry said it had noted and is examining the WTO panel decision and demanded the U.S. to immediately lift tariffs imposed on steel and aluminum imports. Daniel Rao tells us more.
The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative said it was pleased with the WTO decision, stating China had illegally retaliated with what it called sham safeguard tariffs. The U.S. imposed a 25% duty on steel imports and a 10% duty on aluminium imports from China in March 2018. This was based on the Donald Trump administration's Section 232 national security investigation into steel and aluminium imports. In response to the U.S. duties, China announced additional duties of between 15% and 25% would apply to certain imports originating in the United States, a measure challenged by Washington. Beijing could appeal the WTO's latest ruling. However, this could prove difficult as Washington has blocked appointments to the WTO appellate body, rendering it incapable of giving a judgment. The WTO ruled last year that the U.S. tariffs on China had also violated international trade rules. Washington is appealing the decision. China's Commerce Ministry said it had noted the WTO panel's latest decision and demanded that the United States immediately lift tariffs imposed on steel and aluminium imports. A Chinese official said the ministry will follow up on it in accordance with WTO rules. The official said the root cause of the problem in this case is the unilateral and protectionist moves of the United States. The official added China's countermeasures were taken in accordance with the law and are legitimate actions to safeguard the country's legitimate rights and interests. Daniel, TVB News.
China appears to be constructing an airstrip on a disputed South China Sea island that is also claimed by Vietnam and Taiwan. Satellite photos analyzed by the Associated Press show construction on the airstrip first visible in early August. It happened on Triton Island, or Zhongjian Dao as the Chinese call it, in the Paracel Group. It's roughly equidistant from the coast of Vietnam and China's Hainan province. According to the current layout, the runway would be more than 600 meters in length, long enough to accommodate turboprop aircraft and drones, but not fighter jets or bombers. A large number of vehicle tracks are visible, together with what appear to be containers and construction equipment. China has refused to provide details of its island construction work, other than saying it is aimed at helping global navigation safety. Thai lawmakers will vote for a new premier next week after a court rejected a bid by election winner Move Forward Party to challenge the parliament's blocking of its candidate. The Constitutional Court dismissed the petitions by allies of the party on a technicality. The court argued its prime ministerial candidate Pita Limjaroenrat, whose bid to secure the top political office was twice thwarted by Parliament, was not among the complainants. Thailand has been under a caretaker administration since March. Parliament has been deadlocked for weeks over the formation of the next government. That's after the anti-establishment Move Forward Party met fierce resistance from conservative lawmakers allied with the royalist military. However, leader Pita said the party would not give up its fight to govern. Welcome back. In Hawaii, the death toll from the wildfire that decimated the historic town of Lahaina in Maui has risen to 111. U.S. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will travel to Hawaii on Monday to survey the devastation from the worst U.S. wildfire in a century. Meanwhile, Maui officials have defended the decision not to use sirens to alert the public to the wildfires, saying it may have led them into more danger. Tracy Furness has more.
A highway into the Maui resort town of Lahaina reopened Wednesday, giving access to residents for the first time since wildfires decimated the town last week, destroying 2,200 buildings and killing more than 110 people. This, as the head of Maui's emergency agency said on Wednesday, he had no regrets that sirens were not sounded to warn people about the encroaching wildfires, which some say could have saved lives.
The sirens, as I had mentioned earlier, is used primarily for tsunamis. The public is trained to seek higher ground in the event that the siren is sounded. Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone Mauka. And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire.
Meanwhile, Hawaii's Governor Josh Green vowed Wednesday that no one will be victimized from land grab attempts.
I've instructed the Attorney General to work toward a moratorium on any transactions. What it means is people are right now traumatized. Please don't approach them with an offer to buy land. Please don't approach their families to tell them that they're going to be better off if they make a deal, because we're not going to allow it.
People are finding ways to help victims of the wildfires. The American Red Cross and its army of volunteers have set up shop in a Maui parking lot to sort through and distribute donations. This as search and rescue efforts continue in Lahaina as hundreds of people are still unaccounted for. Cadaver dogs have led teams block by block and have covered 38% of the disaster area as of Wednesday. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Chinese citizens are among 10 foreigners arrested in a massive Singapore clampdown on alleged money laundering and fraud. Police say property and assets worth over 1 billion Singapore dollars or nearly 6 billion Hong Kong dollars are involved in the case. Police say the group is suspected of laundering proceeds from overseas organized crime. Bank accounts with over 100 million Singapore dollars in them have now been frozen. Investigators have released photographs of other items seized. The haul includes bundles of cash adding up to over 20 million. 50 luxury cars, jewelry, handbags, and gold bars have also been seized. Hundreds of officers launched raids on 9 residences across the city, from the Orchard Road shopping belt to the resort island of Sentosa. 3 government departments have come under fire from the Ombudsman in handling complaints about sewage linked to village houses in the New Territories. That's after the Office of the Ombudsman completed an investigation into the matter. Mimo Sangai reports.
Currently, the Land Department is responsible for approving the construction of New Territories exempted houses or village houses built by indigenous villages, including their sewage work. Meanwhile, the Environmental Protection Department, or EPD, and the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department, or FEHD, are in charge of handling pollution and environmental hygiene issues. At a press conference today, the Ombudsman criticized the Lands Department for simply referring complaints to the EPD and FEHD instead of fully taking least enforcement actions. Moreover, the Ombudsman revealed that in the past 7 years, the EPD received over 60% of complaints that involved the FEHD and Lands Department. Yet, the three departments do not have a mechanism for information sharing, leading to unresolved complaints.
They need to talk to each other and have a mechanism for information exchange. At the moment, we have found that for some cases where one department has obtained useful information in the enforcement, but they have not transferred such information to other departments, they all seems to like to refer the complaints to the other department without realizing the limitations of the other departments. Instead of shuttling the complaints among the department, we believe that it is much better for them to cooperate to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the enforcement.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Ombudsman conducted another direct investigation into the pilot scheme on community care service voucher for the elderly. The plan was introduced in 2013 to support senior citizens to age in place under the money following the user mode. That means individuals with community care service vouchers can have daycare and home care services provided by social welfare organizations. Up until 2022, around 86% of eligible elders used the vouchers. The Office of the Ombudsman suggests that the Social Welfare Department offer extra support to voucher holders with no children or carers, including contacting them more frequently via phones. Memos 9, TVB News.
The city's unemployment rate continued its downward trend. Between May and July, the latest jobless rate dropped to 2.8%, the lowest in 4 years. An academic said the recent net inflow of population might have helped buoy up the labor force. Jackie Lin reports.
The latest estimate of the city's population returned to nearly 7.5 million. The real estate industry said rising in tandem is the number of home renters. Founder and chairman of Centerline Properties Xu Wing-ching said their residential rental deal saw a surge from 1,000 cases a month before the pandemic to between 2,500 to 3,000 now. Business is good, especially in areas near universities such as Sha Tin and Tai Wai, near the Chinese University of Hong Kong, Xu added. Their property agencies also saw more businessmen or workers on the mainland return to Hong Kong, likely due to the less vibrant economic environment up north, Xu said. Population growth has also helped inject momentum into the labor force. In May to July, the seasonally adjusted unemployment rate dropped 0.1 percentage point to 2.8%, the lowest jobless rate since June 2019. Around 110,000 people are out of a job. Declines in jobless rates are recorded across retail and tourism-related sectors, as well as transportation and real estate industries. The underemployment rate remained unchanged at 1.1%. Among the net inflow of 174,000 people between mid-2022 and the middle of this year to the SAR, the government said there are no statistical breakdowns yet on the regions or countries they are from. Professor Paul Yip specializes in population issues. He said these newcomers are likely between the age of 20 to 60.
The Hong Kong government is working very hard, I think, to attract people to come to Hong Kong, and also there are so-called Hong Kong people as well, who, because of COVID-19, cannot come to Hong Kong. Very likely, I think they will be economic active group, add some energy, I think, for example, the rental market to fill up the labor shortage.
He said if the government can better grasp the demographic changes, policies can be adjusted and fine-tuned to meet new needs and demands. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Plainclothes police officers cracked down on jaywalkers in the city today. The move came after the police launched a 2-week law enforcement operation to tackle road crossing violations on Monday. In Shao Kei Wan, most pedestrians crossed the street under the correct traffic signal, the green man. However, a couple violated the road crossing rule and were stopped by a plainclothes police officer. Police said prosecuted residents would soon receive a summons and they must appear in court or potentially face additional penalties. That is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.